Hello everyone and welcome to a new video. Today we are filming my April wrap up, which was an insane reading month where I ended up on 69 books. The epic number 69 as we wanted. The main reason for this is that I finally had some free time for my thesis and I did a reading challenge, which is in a vlog that you can see before this. I'm planning to post it before this, so I'll leave that link down below. But I read like a certain amount of pages each day, and that's why I read a lot. So that is why it is so many books here. And then I finally had some free time to read like a book a day for a little period, and then it really ebbed off in the end of the month again. But this is the 69 books I read in April. We need to be quick or else I'm going to be here for literally 3 hours. So let's go. What I spent the first part of April doing is finishing my Illumicraft vlog. It is linked down below. I read all the Illumicraft books. I started off with finishing my audio, A Dark and Dawning Tide by Allison Saft. This is about these two kind of students, one of them folklorist, and they are like fighting for this spot on this expedition. They go on this expedition. They're kind of rivals. Things on this expedition goes wrong, someone dies, etc. And they're after this artifact thing. It's like fairies in a world, but they weren't really like as present in the story as you would maybe want. And then like we have these two girls having like a rivalry, and then they actually, one of them at least has feelings for the other. And it had a lot of elements I thought were really cool. It is also a very stunning book, but I ended up not really enjoying myself. I thought it was very messy in the plot, and it wasn't overall a story I enjoyed. I just felt like it didn't manage to carry all the elements that it was carrying in a well manner that I enjoyed it. So I ended up, I think, giving it a 2 if I remember correctly. This is now like over a month ago, and I cannot recall. I then read Until We Shatter by Kate Dillon. I don't have a copy anymore because I borrowed it at the library. This was set in this world where magic was based on like color, and then like there was different colors did different things. The main character was like half color for something, so she was less powerful than people with like full-blooded colors. And then we went on this thing. It was not really that interesting. I didn't really enjoy myself again, and I do believe I get a 2 as well. This was again for the Illumicraft vlog. Then I read Watermoon, again for the Illumicraft vlog, by Samantha Soto-Yamba, and this is a story with these two characters that, what I was going to say, they kind of meet and then they're like, there are things about their parents in the past, etc. It is like the journey to a mystical world to find Hannah's father and a solo choice. And it's a bit like Your Name-esque, Studio Ghibli-esque, but I didn't think for me it managed to get those emotions I get when watching those things. So I felt okay with it, comparing it to the ones I disliked at least. So this gave a 3, and it's an absolutely stunning book. I might try it again later, but like I felt fine about it. I felt it was an okay journey. I just never felt as completely in love with it as I would want to. Then I read a manga, which was My Andrina's Boyfriend Volume 5, which was the final one in the series. And it is this established couple of one of them being Andrina's. And then this is about him just, what can I say, finding out what he wants to do with his career. And then the relationship ended very cutely, and it was like a cute little manga series with only 5 volumes, with a really long wait between each volume, just to add. Then I listened to They Bloom at Night by Trang Tan Tran. This is set in a state in America where like everything has just become like wildlife, etc. And then it's about a mother and daughter surviving. And this like wildlife is also like changing our main character to realize that her body is becoming more like she wants it to, and it's kind of like magical, mystical, like I don't even know, like plants, wildlife, I don't even know what to call it, wildlife in ever resisting waters. And then there's a lot about like her relationship with her mother. They're looking for her brother and father, but I cannot find them, and they most likely are dead. That journey, and it's supposed to be really like vague and weird. The first one by the author I didn't really enjoy either. I felt like that was also vague and weird. It was also like a horror, but like with very like with family dynamics that I enjoyed, but like the actual horror aspects of it, the writing makes it hard to get into the story, and it's like, what are you trying to say here? And I felt the same with this. While I wanted to enjoy more, I didn't like love it. I do believe I gave it a 3 because I felt fine with it and like the like queer aspects of it, etc. And again, like family relationship, but I feel like the writing is just really like in a way where I'm having a hard time to grasp like what are you trying to tell me, and it just doesn't match me that well. So that is why I didn't feel like I would love it as much as I wanted to. Then I read the last book for the Lucas vlog, which was The Prince Without Sorrow by Maitri Vijayasekara. This is like in story inspired by like Indian folklore. and they have like witch and witch hunters kind of setup story, but the book was just not it for me. It didn't work. I didn't really manage to get into it that well, and it was just written in a way where I was just like, I couldn't get into it at all, and I did not enjoy myself at all, and I don't know if I gave it 1 or 2, but I did not enjoy, so we can move on. And then after reading all of the things that I really didn't like, I started a new vlog where I read basically only anticipated releases, which is up on my channel, so I will leave that link down below as well. And the first one I read for that was the Entroponance Reviewed by John Green. This was to read the tuberculosis book, which I ended up not reading in that vlog, but I have now read it, because I read it after, so we will talk about that later. This is basically John Green just reviewing things from our time, because Entroponance is what they're calling the time we're living in now. So like he's reviewing like supermarkets and air condition, etc., and then like giving them a star rating. And it was just very thoughtful of like thinking of things around you and how things around you work and just the world we live in. And I thought it was very, very good. I felt parts really hit my heart, my cold emotionless heart. I felt like it really hits, but then other parts I was like, I guess towards the end I was feeling a bit like not as invested, and I thought it would be a 5-star read, but it ended up being a 4. But I still thoroughly enjoyed it and would read it again. Very surprised of how much I enjoyed it as well. Then I read Sunrise on the Reaping by Susan Collins, which I could finally read after being done with the Loomcraft vlog. This is prequel to Hunger Games, set 15 years before the events of Hunger Games, and we are in Hamish's games. So if you read the original trilogy, which I would read before reading this anyway, you know what Hamish's games, what happens there and what happens after. So I knew what was going to happen. So I was just like, how do you write a story where you already know? Everyone who reads this knows what's going to happen. I still think that Suzanne managed to put in things there that really ripped my heart apart. I also think she managed to put in a lot of characters there where I was like, oh my god. So like, it really, in theory, just sets up Catching Fire, and I don't think it added more into the world and like added more to the story that we didn't already know. It was very much like aware of its revolution, while I feel like Katniss always just was there to survive before she truly became a part of the revolution. But here it had a different kind of awareness, which was interesting. And I do believe that like I enjoy setting up all these pieces, but it was very like fan servicey, and I don't, as I said, think it added more. But as a person who loves Hunger Games, as a person who loved seeing this world again, which is really weird to say, and as a person who just felt very emotionally connected overall, I gave it a 5 out of 5 stars. My next anticipated release was Heavenly Tyrants by Xuan J. Shao. This is obviously the sequel to Iron Widow, and it's set after the events of the first one, where we are set in this world where women go into these machines with men, and they usually die because the women have a lower like chi energy than the man. And then our main character's sister had done this, and she wants to go into the machine with a man who did her sister so she can kill him. That is how the first book starts out. Now we are in the story, completely different place, and it definitely has so many elements that the first book did. Now the first book is full of action, and I really like the spark, the beginning of revolution, where this is the aftermath of it, and I feel like it does it incredibly well. It's very political. It's more like low-key talking, and also a lot of manipulation that you, I don't know, like that you see, but like in a different way. And it was just so marvelously done. I loved our main character, like loving her while also seeing how stupid she is with love, and just like her relationship with the people around her and how it developed, and so many plot twists and turns and things that you don't expect coming together. And it was absolutely incredible. I absolutely loved it. I was scared I wouldn't love it as much because I saw a lot of people didn't, but for me it worked exactly in the spots that I wanted it to, and I gave this one also 5 out of 5 stars. Then I could read a little manga in all of this. I read Yana of the Dawn Volume 2, and I really enjoyed. This is about a princess that lost her kingdom and she's now on the run, and then I'm hoping she will get it back eventually, and she's on the run with this very handsome dude, so we shall see what happens next. It's very enjoyable. Then the next anticipated release I read was Breath of the Dragon by Shannon Lee and Fonda Lee. Obviously Fonda Lee is the author of Greenbow Saga, so I was very excited, and this one is based on what is Bruce Lee's like, not life, but something. It is a lot of material arts. We have our main character who, with him and his father, they got exiled to like the other side of the country after they found out the father had been teaching them material arts, which is not allowed. His twin brother has like a breath mark, which means that they have like a special ability, a bit like X-Men. It can be anything. He does not have one, but he's just training material arts, and now he's entering this competition 10 years later to become like the guardian of this part of the country, but these two different parts, south and east, are like war with each other. There's like a conflict underlining there in the country. And I felt like I was expecting certain things to happen, but they never happened. And now I'm like, oh, very excited for the next book. I felt like I really, really enjoyed training sessions, etc. And like a tournament. It had so many elements I really enjoyed. Very, very good writing, very good developments, very good introduction to the world with like Brett Marked and all of that worked. I think like the underlying like weakness of the book was the conflict between the south and the east, because I felt like it was like an underlining thing the whole time, but never really managed, I think, to keep my interest that much at like our characters, etc., and what was happening now than like what was in the background. And then like that became like the forefront. I was just like struggling with, I guess, the shift in a way. So it didn't end up becoming a 5-star book, but I am hopeful for the future of the series. And then also would definitely reread, because it was honestly really, really, really good. Like it's not like I disliked it, it just didn't feel like a 5-star. Then I finally read Rebel Witch by Kristen Ciccarelli, which is the sequel to Crimson Moth, which is a witch and a witch hunter. She is the like witch he's hunting, and he like suspects she knows something about this witch, so he's using her for information, and she is using him for information to find this other witch that is missing in the beginning, and then they fall maybe for each other. The first book had great banter and some great plot twists, and I feel like this one started out really, really strong with the elements that I loved from the first book, with them coming together and like teasing each other and like all that. I feel like it was done so well. Then it became a bit repetitive for me in the regard that they kind of met and like tease each other and like have moments, and then they split for different reasons, and they came together again, and then split for different reasons, came together again. I was just like, how are they coming together again so easily? I feel like it should have been much harder for them. I don't know why, because it was very like of convenience. And then there was this new underlying plot which was super, super obvious from the get-go of where that would go. And I felt like for some reason I felt like the first book wasn't as obvious, but I felt like this one had so much like obvious parts of it, and therefore didn't have like that gasping moment that I had in the first one that made me not love it as much. And then it was a bit rushed in ending. So I still thoroughly enjoyed the duology a lot. Love the first one. I think that this is a solid sequel, but the first one gets a 5 and this one gets a 4. Then I read Deep End by Ali Hazelwood. I bought this at the library, so I don't have it anymore. I count it as a anticipated release because I really love Bride, but this, as the other two contemporaries I read by the author, I did not enjoy that much. It follows a swimmer and a diver that start having a thing. The swimmer is Swedish, and we keep rubbing that in every second page, and it was very annoying. But they basically found, that was a pile of books if you could hear that, they basically found out that they both like BDSM. So then I expected the sex to be very like not necessarily like super kinky, but like that we would have sex that would be like intriguing, and that they would try out things, and like everyone was talking about how steamy it was, and this sex was just like whatever. It was super disappointing. I'm like, I'm reading this for the smut, and you're not giving me any decent smut even. So the whole thing just ended up being disappointed for me. I was more invested in their like support and how that was going than their actual relationship, which was like super boring. I don't understand why you like each other. So I was disappointed, and I need to stop thinking I will like these contemporaries by this author, because she writes in a way that doesn't work for me. She writes characters in a way that doesn't work for me, and she keeps writing the same characters that doesn't work for me. So I give it a 2. In the midst of the anticipated release vlog, I did need to read my next for my Patreon read along, which was A Map of Days by Ramson Wiggs, which is obviously the 4th book in Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children. And we are now in America. We're starting the new trilogy. I did like it, but I felt like the first 200 pages was a repeat of everything we knew. And then I felt like we were just doing a completely like different book in the middle. And then everything we built off for like months and months and months, the whole original trilogy, we built this like family. And then that family was just broken up in 4 days. And that annoyed me, because I was just like, how is that possible? So I felt like it really like ruined things that we had established and put into grounds in the first trilogy. While I get they wanted to add things to the world and it needs to add new conflict to write a whole trilogy, I do get that, but it still felt a bit like unnatural to me in a way, unnatural, a bit peculiar of how their relationship could just develop the way they did. So it was a bit annoying, and I gave it a 3 and probably like my least favorite so far. But I'm hoping I will like the next 2 and last ones more, because now we have established a lot of the things. Then amidst all this, I could read a manga, My Dress Up Darling Volume 12. So this just follows this dude that makes cosplays with this girl. It is sweet. it was fun, Christmassy, and there's only 2 volumes left, if I'm not incorrect, so that is weird. Then I read Cursebound by Sarah Alarifi for Anticipated. This is a sequel to FAEbound, and it follows these elves that basically finds the Fae after they've been gone for a really long time, that are trapped in this place, and it's like romance, and there's this war that's going on, there's like things they've been fighting in this war that they maybe shouldn't have this whole time, and then other aspects of the story that comes into play. I felt like we left off on a storyline in the first one that I felt was very intriguing, and I mean, kind of just wrapped that up very, very fast in the first one. I was like, what? And then this part said about just us avoiding assassination attempts, and I just felt like we devolved things in story, but at the same time we didn't overall for the world. It was very like internal, and now since it's only a trilogy and we're wondering of how we go, I like the characters, I like the world, etc. And I do really, really like the author. I just felt like it didn't really live up to the things that I felt like setting in place in the first one. So I do believe, did I give it a 4 or did I give it a 3? I might have given it a 3, and I do still feel excited for the next one. And I do think the world, as I said, and everything is interesting. I just was like, is this what this book is about? And I thought we use a lot of time on things that was not important when we have other bigger issues. So I guess what I'm trying to say. Done by the same author on audio, I did finish Undying Fire by Sarah Alarifi, which was the finishing off the Undying Fire trilogy. So this trilogy is based in this world where people with different color of the blood have different places in society. Then the revolution that follows, we had like a revolution plan where they switch out babies with different bloods, but then that failed, and now we're following like the aftermath of that, and they're trying to build up this revolution again in the first one. I really, really love the first book. It's like a 5-star book, true. The second I gave a 4, but I feel like maybe that should be given a 5 as well, because it really, really expands the world, and here everything comes together. I just feel like this was the weakest in the series, which I feel like the third book should be the strongest, because that's where we wrap up everything and concludes everything, etc. So it should, in theory, the third book should always be the strongest, but I feel like that rarely happens. I feel like it's hard for authors to finish up their things, and I feel like this is a consequence of that. I do enjoy the characters still. I do enjoy seeing the world come together, and I thought so many things was done so well. This world that the author created was amazing, and I enjoyed the characters a lot. I just felt like I was waiting for like a point of the story where I was being like, oh my god, like, not like necessarily a plot twist, but something that really like feels the weight of this story as a final book. And I feel like that never came. Still think it was like a 4-star read, but like maybe more like a tentative 3.5 that would round it up to 4. And I still enjoyed the series thoroughly, and I would reread it maybe even again, because I did reread 1 or 2 last month as well to read this third one. And overall, I did enjoy it. I just felt like I expected more from a final book, is what I'm trying to say. Then I better read The Tainted Cup with my friend Johanna by Robert Jackson Bennett. This one follows this duo, actually, that is solving murders together. And he's like her assistant, and she's super clever. And then we are in this really cool fantasy world. I enjoy the characters a lot. I enjoy the world a lot. I almost wanted more from the world. And I enjoyed our mystery. I overall really liked it. It was exciting to see it play out. I felt like it was a bit different than like another epic fantasy, as we like follow like literally murder investigators, but like not just like Sherlock Holmes, even though like it does have like definitely some Sherlock vibes, but it just still felt different than another epic fantasy. And I overall had a good time. I gave it a strong 4. Then I read Offbound by Tracy Deonn. I thought that this was the final book in the Legendborn trilogy, or now it is a cycle, but it is not. This is a Arthurian Legends and Myths retelling, where we have Bree, who joins this society that don't like it at all because she's black and they are very white and privileged. And then she also has like this other magic, and then there's like author is going to come again stuff, things that I'm not going to get too much into because spoilers, but also time limit, because we have been here a long time and we are not even halfway through these books. But overall, I did not enjoy this as much as the others. I found 1 or 2 incredible, and I did enjoy it. I still enjoy the characters' world and all that, which I keep saying, but I just found like that we used so much time on a thing that I didn't care for, and all the characters that I really, really enjoyed were barely present, I felt like, and I felt like we just used a lot of time in like a mid-series, and I was just like, what is going on? I am excited for the next installments, because now I don't even know if it's gonna be like 4 books or 5 books. I don't know. I will read them all. I'm super excited. I overall think it has so many great themes and so well written and so good characters and all that. I just felt a bit disappointed because I was just like, this is so thick, and we spent so much time on things that was really inner character developments, which are important, but I was just like, hello, we have a whole like conflict here we need to get to, and I just felt it fell a bit flat for me, and I gave it a 3, but I still overall enjoy everything. I just didn't feel like it lived up to the things I expected, I guess. I then read the last full anticipated release vlog, which was Rag Pick a King by Cassandra Clare, which is obviously the sequel to Sword Catcher, and then therefore is released because it's Cassandra Clare. I did enjoy Sword Catcher, but not as much as I thought I would. It's set in this world where we follow kind of the body double to the prince, because that's what it's called, Sword Catcher, because he's catching sports for him, and then this healer, and then they like merge together for different stuff and politics and stuff in the world. This was a lot of talking. I feel like not a lot happened, and I feel like I did not remember Swordcatcher enough to actually read this, even though I thought I did, so I definitely need to read both before the next book comes out. I feel like I didn't get the emotional impact it wanted me to have, but at the same time I was quite bored of like all the talking and a lot of characters I didn't know. I did see the ending was very dramatic, and I was like, oh my god, but at the same time, at that point, after how many pages was this? 500 and something pages, I was just like, at this point, I just want to be done. So I didn't really love it, and I gave it a 3. And I felt like we started that anticipated vlog very well, and then it went a bit down, but I guess more thoughts there or something. I then had a little Patreon readathon, so then I usually binge a manga series, or I try. I haven't actually done it in the later ones because I have been working on my thesis, so I haven't actually read in the later readathons, but I did it this time because then I could finally read. So the one I chose to binge was Scums Wish, which is a 8-volume manga series, so I binged the whole thing. Very happy because now we are doing 8 books in one go, and I felt like this was going too slowly. Scums Wish, which starts out with obviously volume 1, follows these two characters that are basically doing physical stuff with each other because they're really involved with other people, but they're getting in like out their frustrations and pretending that the other is the person they actually like to get out their stuff, and then it evolves from there. It was really weird. It was a long time since I read volume 1, but now I had gotten the rest of the series so I could finally finish it, and it was weird. I don't know how to describe it because like the people they're crushing on are the teachers, and not that like they can have a crush on the teacher, but the teacher should not return that crush. And then there was like this weird like lesbian relationship. I'm saying weird because she's just using her the whole time. At the same time, that is kind of the plot of the story. Like, it's the whole point is that they are scummy people. That's why it's called Scums Wish. So the whole point is that they are shitty people, everyone. So that is kind of also the point, but like it depends of what you react on. But I was just like, I reacted on the fact that they were shitty, but I was also like, I get it, it's the point of the story. But I don't think like it's gonna be something that I will thoroughly remember and like super enjoy. Now I'm a bit like, I own this now. Great, it's gonna be in my shelf forever. But at the same time, it wasn't terrible. And then it was annoying me just with the ending because it has like a typical manga ending where it's like it's super vague and we don't know who ended up with who, and I'm annoyed about it. But it was fine. It was something at least. It was entertaining. It had a lot of scenes where there was a lot of kissing and being horny. And I don't honestly know what I think about the teacher stuff and the poor girl that was just being used for physicalness. Like the one that was actually a lesbian. That was sad. I mean, that was sad. Then I did read Some You Can Build a Nest In by John Whistle. Reading this for my Nebula vlog. So this one follows this monster that is now being awoken by humans that comes into the monster's nest, and the monster falls in love with a human that doesn't know in the beginning who they truly are, and then it was from there. It was actually quite cute and had some good parts, but like the human part and the hunting part was a bit uninteresting, but I did like the dynamics in the relationship, and I gave it a 3. Then actually this was the last for my anticipated vlog. It was Little Roth by Craig and Messi. I did audiobook this and found out about it, and obviously then it became an anticipated release. These were 2 characters that have been together for a long time, and they break up, and then they like both go out and do crazy things, I was gonna say, in the city. Like they go to a sex party and the other one is just partying, and then there's murder happening, and I didn't really get it. It was a lot about like sex workers, etc. Or at least they were present in the book. It wasn't about them. And then a lot about like sugar daddies and rich people and doing wrong things, and I didn't really get the book completely. I wouldn't say it was like my favorite Craig and Messi. I was actually a bit confused of a lot of things, but it was definitely something. I don't know how to describe it, but do look up trigger warnings, and I gave it a 3. Then I read the Book of Love by Kelly Link, also for my Nebula vlog. This follows these kids, basically, or teens that died, and then they were resurrected, but I need to do these things to stay alive, and one of them needs to die again. And then instead of being about this really cool concept, it was a lot about like drama of who was kissing who and who was together with who. And it lost my interest a lot. It was like over 600 pages long and I really felt it. And then it did not live up to what I wanted to do. And I ended up not enjoying it a lot. And I gave it a 2. I don't know if the Nebula vlogs come before this, but spoilers for that, I guess. I then read A Sorcerer Comes to Call by T. Kingfisher. This was also for the Nebula vlog. Didn't enjoy this as much either. I thought I would really like it because it was T. Kingfisher, but ended up felt a little let down. It's about this daughter's protecting her mother from being bewitched, basically, and it was just interesting and fell flat for me. And I do believe I gave it a 3 because I enjoyed the writing but didn't enjoy that much else. Then I read Oshino Volume 8 by Akakasaka and Mango Yakuari, yes. And Mango Yakuari is the same author as Scums Wish, and I didn't realize they were the same person until I was reading this right after. I was like, oh, so this follows this pop star and then she gets babies. And then I don't know what else to say, but it's basically like a murder mystery in a way. And I have not really enjoyed the series since Volume 1, but here we are on Volume 8. I read it. This had some interesting developments compared to the other volumes, so I am curious to see what's gonna happen. And it's like done soon. Like it's not that many volumes, I feel like. So I say soon and it's probably like 16, so I'm halfway. Was it 12? I don't know. Then I read Rake's Fall by Vaira Chandrasekhara. So this I read also for the Nebula vlog. I didn't really get it. It was like episodes of something, but I didn't really understand it. I didn't understand the other book by the author either. It was really weird. I couldn't even say I would give it a rating because I don't think I got the book. So yay for me. Then I started my Pages vlog and I read so much, so I kind of hate myself. So we have Asunder by Kirsten Hall. That was the last of the ones I had available for my Nebula vlog. So this one follows a woman that can commune with the dad right after they died, and then she makes this deal where she saves the student and connects him to her shadow in a way, which is not allowed. And then he's connected to her and I go out on this like thing. It was actually very fun and sweet and well written, and I enjoyed it. I don't remember if I gave it 3 or 4 in the second, but it was more enjoyable than all the others, I think. So yay, I actually have one more Nebula book I haven't read yet. So when I read that, I can actually post a vlog. I'm curious to see for the last one if I enjoyed that more or less. Then I read the song Rising. Oh, I can take them together at least. And The Mask Falling and The Dark Mirror. So I read them all and The Dawn Chorus. So I read all of them. The Dawn Chorus is a short story. One after another because I was doing the challenge anyway, so I might as well get to all of the books I needed to read. This is book 3 and 4 and 4.5 and 5 in one season. The revised editions. I enjoyed these as much as I thought I would. I enjoyed this as much as I enjoyed it the last time, I think. I enjoyed this more. Dark Mirror was fun. Dawn Chorus was fun. I hadn't read that before. But I feel like overall like okay about the series right now. I really did not like it before and now I feel better about it. And I felt like I was having a good time overall with the developments now that I knew I was coming and didn't expect another kind of series. It is set in the future in London where clairvoyants are hunted. And then Paige, who is a clairvoyant, is taken. And then the story evolves from there. I feel like I like the story more after the revisation, if I can say that. And I had like overall an okay time. I do believe I gave like, did I give this 2 or 3 maybe? And then this a 3. I don't know. What did I give Dark Mirror? A 3 maybe? I don't recall my ratings, but I read them all. Yay. So now I can reread them all again when the next one comes out in like 3 years. Among that, I read Love is a War by Akakasaka. Oh yeah, again, this was like the same author, Scums Wish, with Manga Yakuari, then Akakasaka in Oshino, and then Akakasaka in Love is War. Love is War basically follows the vice president and a president of the student council, and they love each other, but they don't want to admit it, or be the first one to do so. So they just do all this stupid shit to avoid it, and then they're super cute. I really, really enjoyed this one. So I was super excited to continue, and I decided to continue after this as well. Then I read The Lotus Empire by Tasso Shuri. Finishing up this series, we have wonderful girls. One was a handmaiden to the princess, and then they're taking back the kingdom. There's also this like sickness that makes people grow, what can I say, plants in them maybe. And then it was from there. It wasn't fun. It didn't go anywhere where I didn't think it would go, but it was still good, and the way it's written, the way we are set in this world, the characters. I overall had a good time with the whole series, and I gave this a 4. Then I read Comey Can Communicate 11 and 12, not after one another, but I'm taking it together. Follows Comey, who has a communication disorder, and she wants to make 100 friends, so we are well on the way with it, and she's super adorable, especially in volume 12. We had a really good storyline, so I'm hoping we will continue that in volume 13. Yay! We then have Siste Utvei for en Engel, or Last Exit for an Angel, which was translated by my Japanese professor, by Keigo Higashino. Not my Japanese professor, but that is the name of the author. So this follows a mystery that we are solving. We have this professor dude and then this like investigator that do collab a lot. And then we are solving a murder. It was very fun. It was a good build-up. I was very into it, want to know the murder. I don't think that this had as good as a plot twist as the last one, but it still was incredible, and it was very fun to see how it was done and how we solved it. So I obviously am not going to spoil the twist, but it was still a good time. I thoroughly enjoyed it and gave it a 4. Then I read A Crane Among Wolves by June Her. This is a historical fiction mystery. We actually follow like a really like known emperor who was terrible, and in 1506 Joseon, or like Korea. One is looking for her sister, another one is like a guard, and then they come together and investigate together, and then they go out on journey to do so. I thought it was fine. I just felt like the way this author writes, I enjoy it, but then I also feel like for the complex themes, it's not written complex enough in a way. And then it had a silly, funny, romantic ending, but like not silly, but a bit silly as in like I felt very drama, like K-drama-ish. But it was enjoyable, and I gave it a 3. I was getting through Psalm 25 and 35 and sequels I needed to finish for this challenge, to just like, since I need to read so much anyway. So School for Good and Evil was picked out there, and I did have the third book, The Last Hour After. I cannot describe if I enjoyed this book or not. We had some like really, really long dialogues with all the characters for some reason. And then I felt there was so much back and forth with some of the characters that has been throughout the whole thing. Then we had a weird plot twist. But overall, I still enjoyed the story. I still enjoy like the fairy tale-esque feel to it, and like the like how it's based itself on like known fairy tales, etc. And I enjoy like the thought of what good and evil is. But I still struggle with other parts of the story a lot as well. So I couldn't decide if I enjoy it, and I can't decide if I like want to buy the rest or just keep the like first trilogy. But it was still like a fun time overall, and I like the characters. I don't know. But it didn't go at all where I thought it would go. But it did. It didn't. I don't even know. I just wish the characters didn't go as much back and forth as they did, I guess. I gave it a 3, I think. Yeah. But then I still was emotional and almost cried in the end, so I don't know. I feel like I lost the plot a bit of sitting here for so long. But next we have Eerie by Maria Dawana Headley. This is a sequel to Magonia, which was chosen out the sequels I need to finish. Magonia is about like this girl that was basically put down on Earth, but she belongs up in the sky, and then like she can't breathe down on Earth because of this. And then this was the sequel. For some reason, it gave absolutely nothing. I didn't care, and I read the first book like 6 years ago, so I don't know what I was thinking. We are just people are hunting them, etc. And it's just to reaffirm their love. And I was just like, why am I reading this? Why? But I did it. And I don't know what to say. I didn't really particularly like it. And I didn't think I would like the sequel, because I didn't particularly like the first book either. Then I finished my next audio, which was Where Shadows Meet by Patrice Cadwell. It was the next For the Fairy Loot YA vlog. It is lesbians and vampires. We are set like 1,000 years later after like the vampires were made by the gods, and then we also follow like 1,000 years before when like this actually happened. And then in like the present time, you have 2 girls, one who is a vampire princess, the other one is Seer, and they go out on this journey to save her friend, and then they start having peace with each other. And I was very confused of like the narrative when we were switching, because they felt so similar and it was weird. And then I didn't care for the relationship, and the whole book bases itself on a relationship. I wish I enjoyed it because it's vampires and lesbian, but I didn't. And then like just didn't give that much. I was in the beginning, I was trying to settle in the story, and when I finally settled, I was like, it's not weird I struggle with settling. There's nothing to settle in. I didn't really particularly like it, and I think I give it a 2. Then we have The Big 4 by Agatha Christie, which was the next one I need to read in Poro. It was really weird. Apparently it was released as like short stories in this magazine or something. They're stopping this conspiracy thing, but like it didn't feel like a typical Poro book selling out the pieces and investigating. It was weird. I didn't really like love it. Didn't hate it either. Don't remember what I rated it. Then we had Galinics, which was put out in Series I Need to Finish. This was just a short collection set in the Scythe world. Or Arc of a Scythe, I guess. Scythe. I say Scythe, but I know it's Scythe. Sorry. And I found some of the stories interesting and fun. It's just that a lot of the characters I didn't remember who was. I didn't really particularly care for them, because I didn't remember who they were, and I didn't reread the original trilogy. But some were still super good as well, because I do think what made the story so good is because of the world more than the characters. So I wish like I cared more for the characters, but I need to reread, which I will probably do one day, but not now. But I finished the series again. Yay. Then I was going to read one like Rider-verse book, but then I realized I wanted to read all the companions before that one to read that Rider-verse book so that I like caught up on all the like my reading stuff. So I spent like the whole rest of the challenge to do that. So there's just loads of like shit here that like I read a Cane Corner Survival Guide, which is like for babies, and I just did that. It was a bit fun to be back in the world. I think I enjoyed this survival guide more maybe than the other I'm going to show you. But I read this. Yes, I counted as a book. Judge me hard. I'm judging myself. But before more Rick Riordan, I did read The Lamb by Lucy Rose. I'm doing a little like horror vlog, and this one is about a mother and a daughter who are cannibals, and then they live out in the forest and eat people, and then this other woman joins them to eat people, and it's really weird and dark and twisted. Very much enjoyed this one. It was like perfectly delicious in what it wanted to do for me, and I gave it a strong 4. Guess I could say more, but that was easy and okay. And I read this ginormous companion, Percy Jackson Geek Gods. Why do I own it in hardback? I don't know. But I read it, and it was fun because it's like Percy's POV on like the gods and like their stories. A good time, actually. I was actually pleasantly surprised that it was so fun. In the same manner, I read Percy Jackson Greek Heroes. I got a lot of books off my TBR and very good. And it's about the heroes in Greek mythology again from Percy's POV. Nice. And I finally got them off my TBR again. It was a great time. Then I read the Demigod Diaries by Rick Riordan. This one is like a companion to like Heroes of Olympus. I think it's like, what was it set as? 2.5 or something. And it was actually really good. This had like actual short stories and not like humoristic side stuff. And one of the stories was even written by Rick Riordan's son. I actually thoroughly enjoyed this. I was very happy to say so. The other like diary thing to oh god, another book fell. To Percy series, like Percy Jackson and Olympiads was also really good. So those were the best companions, I think, of all of them, in my humble opinion. Then came the really like silly ones I read. So I read like Hotel Valhalla Guide to the Norse Gods. Why do I own these? I don't know. But it's like a guide for the different characters, etc. They're just like literally just a guide about the creatures. And I'm like, why do I own this? It was a bit silly to read it, but here we are. Then I could read like an actual book. So that was The Dark Prophecy by, again, Rick Riordan. This is the second book in Trials of Apollo. Read the first one like ages ago. I was like, what are we? Who are we? But this is like with Apollo being human. And then we went on an adventure. Like, there's one continuous adventure instead of like one in each one, like the Percy ones are. But it's still super fun characters and world, obviously. And very excited to be back in the world and maybe actually complete Riordan, because I do want to read the newest Percy books. Then I read Compapwood Confidential. This actually belongs to like within like the Apollo books, because it kind of spoils some parts as well. It was fine. It had like some short stories and interviews. So like this was more fun and another I'm going to show you, and I read it, and yes, I'm a silly goose. Like Valhalla one was a bit weird, and then this was good, and then the one I was actually supposed to read in all of this was actually Ship of the Dead, which is Manga Shades, the third book, which was picked out in series I need to finish. I have finished it. It was a good time. Very surprised of like how romantic relationship went. Love it. And I finished a series which we are happy about. Yay! And it was a good time. It was a good time. And obviously Northern, all that, yay. Then this was like a silly companion, another one, Buckling House Magician's Manual. Because this was like, it was more like quizzes than anything else. And I was like, why are there so many quizzes? Why am I reading quizzes? And it was weird. It was weird. This obviously belonged to the King Chronicles. The other guide was more fun than that guide, just saying. And since we were doing like all of these Riordan books anyway, I had one more or two more I could read, because I just felt like now I can read all the Riordan I have, and then like I wish more for my birthday, so that like now I can like actually catch up. Maybe I'm saying maybe because it is tentative. I was saying for the last like 3 years, this year I read done Riordan, and I haven't done it yet. So this year I didn't even say it, and now I'm actually doing it. So you know, the next I had was Burning Maze. I did like already own this, so I just read this as well. We had like stop I think mid book for my challenge, which you will see if you see the vlog. But yeah, next one in Trials of Apollo, good time. I could have probably talked about them together, but here we are. And then among of this, between these books, I could have read manga, but then I skipped so many because I wanted to do done Riordan. So now we just have loads of manga that I could read for all those small books, because I counted them as a book to read a manga for. So we have JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. This is actually part 2, volume 4. So we're done with this part. I don't know what's going on at all. We are here for vibes and shits and giggles, but at least I read it, and now we shall see what the next part holds. It is very bizarre and weird. Then this is actually at the point where I stopped reading in a month. I just read manga this one day and then I stopped reading. So we have Love Signness by Junji Ito. The next Junji Ito I need to read. A good time, but not like my favorite or anything. But the art is marvelous. But I don't think the story in this was as twisted as I want them to from the author. But still good, because I am obviously reading all of Junji Ito. Then I finished my next audio for the horror vlog, which is Victorian Cycle by Virginia Fato. This one was about like a governess that is a bit murderous, and it goes very twisty and weird. I enjoyed a lot of parts of it, but some parts of it was feeling a bit more about. I don't know why exactly, I just felt like I never got as completely into it as I wanted it to, but it was still murderous and delicious, and I enjoyed parts of it immensely, and I gave it a strong 3. Then I could read more manga, which was Witch Hat Atelier Volume 7. Very enjoyed the series. We have a witch that is a witch apprentice, and we are doing witchy things, yay, as we like to see. And then I could also read Witch. We are in part 2, Larissa's Revenge Volume 3, or Volume 6, and which is, as if you've been here, I loved it as a kid. I have all the volumes of these, even though they stopped publishing and made series, and I'm gonna read through them. So it was really good. This one was really good. I have like had 2 volumes where I've been like, huh? But this was great. Then I went for 9 from 9 Worlds Barbie Ryan. This is 2 Magnet Chase, set after the main series. This is more of like an actual stories, which was good. We had Thor like doing a little run throughout all of the 9 worlds. And then we just have short stories from different worlds, from different characters we have met throughout the series, which was great. It was a fun time, actually. It was a better companion than the other Magnet Chase companion, at least. So at this point, I basically stopped reading. I didn't finish any more physical books for the rest of the month, and I had like, I think, a week, because I died in thesis again after reading all of this as well. But I felt fine about it because I read so much in the month already. But I did finish 2 more audiobooks for the month. I can't believe we are soon on this vlog. The first one was Everything is Tuberculosis by John Green. It came off hold, even though I definitely could have bought it with a credit, but I was on hold for a very short time anyway. This is John Green writing about tuberculosis and how obsessive it's with it, and how tuberculosis has evolved in its history, and a lot about like the healthcare system and the racism and discrimination in the healthcare system. And it was very, very fascinating and interesting. I knew it was probably going to be after reading the Offbound, I can't say the word anymore, reviewed, and I knew that probably this was going to give similar vibes to that, and it definitely did. It's a lot about also a boy he met called Brian? Henry, how Henry lived with tuberculosis, etc., and their friendship as well. And I thought some parts of it was really beautiful and dark and sad about humanity, and I overall thought it was a really good book that makes you think, and I gave it a 4. So the last book for this that I read for the month was Leafoot by Brum. This again audio, and it's for the horror vlog, and this is about like a witch that, well, she wasn't really a witch, but they made her into a witch, and it started like this whole witch hunt thing. I talk a lot about this in the actual vlog, but basically I didn't really enjoy this because I felt it was like feminist class 101, and I felt like I get what I was trying to do, and I get this doing an important message, but I just felt like it wasn't, for me, done well enough for me to thoroughly enjoy a story like that. I felt like it was just very, very typical, and I've seen it exactly done before, and then I was quite bored. It was long, and then there was this weird part about like these children and father, and I didn't enjoy that, and I just like felt like it went exactly where you think it's gonna go, and I was, as I said, overall a bit bored with it, so I ended up not really liking it, and I gave that a 2, and that is how I ended up my reading for April. It's really weird to look at like the latest books, because that was basically, as I said, just manga, and then I was just like 2 audios, because that's the only reading I have read, by the way. I just like didn't finish anything, because I read a really thick book, so I read some pages in that. Like I did read in the end of the month, I just didn't finish anything, so they won't be in a wrap up. They will be in the next wrap up, where I think like, but I still think it's fine. I ended up 69 books, good number. I feel fine about the month, and that is how we ended it. Yay! Okay, my voice is dying. We have been here for an hour. I'm gonna go and drink some water and leave a witch emoji down below, or broom. It's a broom, I think. I don't know. And you should see me soon anyway. Thank you so much for watching. You should see me soon. Bye.